Welcome to Costa Rica. My name is Johnny from Johnny Knows Costa Rica. Today I have the pleasure of being in Pura Vida, but a lot better than what I even thought Pura Vida was. Because a lot of times we focus on life as we think it should be, or where we lived, or what we did before. But I met this young lady at the farmer's market. Her name was Marla. You're going to see a video about her and how I get my eggs from her. But I'm actually going to the source today with Ronald here and a Mennonite family of how things are really in Costa Rica. At least, you know what? It was kind of like a breath of fresh air learning about everything that's here. But you know what? I'm talking a lot. We need to take to somebody that really knows. Roger, how you doing?
Hi.
You know what? I say Mennonita, but in English, I always thought Mennonita was Amish. Am I incorrect?
Very similar, same background, slightly different group.
So it's Mennonite, right?
Yeah, correct.
Mennonite. See, we already learned. You know what? We've talked a little bit about what this life is, and I'm amazed of that you guys converted Pura Vida to a whole nother level of quality living, and that's something that I think people, when they're coming to Costa Rica, they're looking for. But you guys, you've been doing here for many generations now. Mm-hmm. How long has it been since Mennonites have been here in Costa Rica?
Our group has been here since 1968, when my grandparents and several other families moved from the U.S.
Oh, since 1968. So there's 4 generations of.
Correct.
And it's originally from Virginia, correct?
My grandparents were from Virginia. There were some families from Georgia as well that moved.
Okay. How did they choose Costa Rica? Do you know that?
As I understand it, one of the main reasons, my grandpa was a very visionary man, a man who loved sharing his faith, but his situation where he was living was not one that lent itself to, or rather say, there was not a big vision for spreading the gospel beyond just life with your neighbors.
Right.
So he had the vision he wanted to go somewhere beyond the borders of the U.S. and ended up moving here to Costa Rica, originally to the Arenal area, before the lake and the hydroelectric plant was in place.
Oh, so where the lake is at now, that they created before the explosion.
Exactly. They moved in the end of May, or in May, if I'm not mistaken, about 6 weeks before the big eruption in 1968. Yeah.
Wow. So those of you that don't know about Costa Rica or the lake that we're talking about, Arenal has a lake that actually supplies the northern portion of Costa Rica, which is Guanacaste. They take all that water, and this was developed so we can have a water source farther up north, because we're in the center where this portion of the country has the highest concentration of water. Now, but that whole lake, there was towns there, and your family was there 6 weeks before it exploded.
Roughly, yes. They had to evacuate to Tilarang for a while before. Yeah, so it was an interesting introduction to life here.
Well, that was a wake-up call for anybody, right?
Yeah, it was. It was extreme. So yeah, and so today most of most of where their farm, and even at least when the water level is reasonably high, where their house was is underwater now.
Wow. That's a story to tell your kids, right? You know, Grandpa was here and we were almost not here.
Yeah, it was.
There was a lot of people that passed away in that because of the gases of that were overwhelmed that area.
Absolutely. The town of Pueblo Nuevo would have been right at the base of the volcano. I think that was completely
Yeah.
eliminated. My grandparents lived, I'm trying to think, it was 8-9 kilometers from the volcano, so yes, they had to leave at the moment. They were badly affected, but they weren't injured or anything.
Right. So tell us a little bit about, we started talking about how the Mennonites live in Costa Rica, and but we spoke in the Costa Ricans call it obispo, but you're a bishop in English, correct? So, but I thought it was so interesting the way you spoke about what your role is and how you guys lead as a leadership, but not as. Can you explain a little bit about that?
I can try. We, yeah, we don't, maybe say it this way, we're not, leadership is not a career.
Okay.
We work to make our living same as anyone else. We don't, so it's not a paid occupation, it's a responsibility. We do, when there's need for leadership in the church, it's chosen from among the congregation, and we work as a team. There's not just one person leading the church. In our specific congregation, there's 6 of us who work together. And out of the 6, then one is chosen to, probably the simplest way to say would be to chair, to make sure things get done, to make sure decisions are made, to lead.
In leading.
Yeah.
Okay. So having that, we talked about, and kind of one of the reasons why we're here because of Marla's eggs. Tell us about, so you guys all have your separate occupations or your separate, your own form of living, and you spoke to me, you do cows, you guys do chicken farm, you do, just to name a few. How is that, so that's normal?
Yeah. I'm sorry, could you?
So what I'm saying is the portion on when you guys work as a community in different areas and sort of create your opportunities, like with raising chickens and you have a print press here, and then in you in particular you spoke about that you do translations and things like that. That's so you lead. I always thought that it was like everything was together and in a misconception, it's, but I think it's great.
Sure. It's one of those things that the ideal is to, yes, work together in the sense when someone has a need, everyone pitches in. But yes, we do also believe that each one is responsible for themselves as well, as we can't go depending on other people. So we each make an effort to make our living, but someone gets sick, we try to help, we help out. Someone has a need of something, some of the brethren who have a bigger business make a special effort to make sure that there's employment for someone who needs it. So there is an element of community without everything being common property, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, so you guys take more of an approach of help each other, but it's not, I guess, you don't, it's not, it just happens. Oh, you're Picard of this, and this is what you get. You kind of work together in a sense to make it, there's a value. Oh, so having that said, what do you think? How's Costa Rica with Mennonites? Has it grown in past years? And you were here since you were a kid, and how's that different? Have you differentiated if you grew up as in the States instead of being here Mennonite?
Yes, there definitely would be differences, because we do believe that the gospel applies to every culture. It's not that a culture is the gospel, but rather the gospel affects the culture. So growing up here, I grew up, to an extent, the basic influence would have been Costa Rica. The approach to life, the relationship-oriented society, all of those things would have become, that's a part of my life, which would be very different from, at least depending which area of the U.S. we would have grown up in.
So myself, I grew up in the U.S. my entire life, and you grew up in Costa Rica your entire life, but we're from opposite backgrounds. And I think about that sometimes, that you're not from one or the other, and sometimes you're in between, but you got the best of both worlds.
I'm very grateful for the opportunities I received.
No, your dad, he hooked you guys up because you grew up in nature. This whole, it's. I love my childhood. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I understand.
But you guys got to live in this every day, and I only got to live this recently. So you got a leg up.
Yeah.
You know what? Something I actually want to touch is that I saw something so beautiful. Your kids are so gracious, so well mannered, so helpful, and I think that's something that is missing so much. No matter faith or whatever, it is something to really applaud you. I think we need to take that DNA and spread it to everybody, because, man, your kids are, and not because we're interviewing this, but you guys, they did what we were as well. I'm 50, maybe 52 now. What we were, our manners that we had to say, they did all that, and I'm like, man, I almost wanted to touch them to see if they were really alive.
Yeah.
How's in this custom culture? How do you guys maintain that so much?
Well, thank you. But I think there's two elements that probably more, but one main one is hospitality is extremely important to my wife. And she does very well at taking people in, making them feel at home. That is, so there's a reason the children learned it. I value it too, but I think she has it. I mean, she shines.
No, it's like, it's like not even a sunset, the sun. It's like, wow, it's just in your face.
And then there is one thing too that you mentioned, the way it used to be. We live in an area that this generation of school children is probably the first one that so many that have stayed in school so long. Most people would have grown up more with those same values. It was more, what I'm trying to get at is it's more of our area is not as advanced, if we want to call it that, and please don't take it as a derogatory term. I'm talking about in, like, when it comes to education, when it comes to the opportunities haven't been there for near as many people. So I think some of those old values have been preserved more. In this area still, you go to most people my age and you'll still be received quite well.
It's something that Costa Rica has, that courtesy, especially when you get more in the rural areas, that they value the customs and courtesy and manners and all that still. When you get farther in, they start losing a little bit,
Sure.
but more the city. But here in the country, I'm glad to see it's strong and alive. You know what? We'll end with this in the summary, because I'd like to go visit. You know what? Let's go check out the chickens,
Sure.
where I'm getting my eggs from, and not only maybe possibly if leaders are along the way, maybe we can talk to them, but understand, so people have kind of a glimpse
Sure.
of what a Mennonite is, how they live, how you live, and honestly appreciate. Because to me, this is healthcare at a different level. I do healthcare, and this quality life is, we don't value it the way people. This is actually the best medicine.
One thing I think that should be mentioned too, our way of life is based on our faith. It's not that too often it seems that we try to incorporate our faith into our way of life rather than our way of life growing from our faith. Obviously it's influenced by the culture. We're not going to change the culture we live in.
Yeah.
But I think, in all honesty, a clear conscience, being able to live at peace, all those affect exactly what you're talking about, more than people realize as well.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, because the fact that people come here thinking, you know what, I'm going to be here, but they bring some of that baggage from the States or from wherever they're at, but they want to have a quality of life. And quality of life doesn't mean you bring something, is that you allow things to happen and not assimilate in the sense that you lose your identity, but assimilate in the way that you're with one with nature here. And that's sometimes we lose that. But you know what? We'll get right back. We'll be right back and go check out the rest of what a Mennonita or Mennonite living is here in Costa Rica.